Good afternoon. We'd like to call the work session for the Carroll County Board of Commissioners meeting for Monday, October 24th at 4 p.m. to order. First on the agenda, we're going to call on our partners, Carroll tomorrow and the Chamber, Daniel Jackson and Andy Camp, for a quick presentation.
Good evening, or good afternoon, rather. It is only 4 o'clock, isn't it? Thank y'all for your time today. Before I go over a couple of handouts that were provided to you, I just wanted to kind of recap a couple of things before we talk a little bit about specifically why we're here today. My name is Andy Camp. I'm with Carroll Tomorrow, and we are the Economic Development Organization for Carroll County, as you all know. And one of the things that we're tasked with is trying to help local businesses expand and also attracting new businesses to the area to make those, to create those jobs and to also bring those investments to Carroll County. In the last couple of years, we've all been very successful together, and we thank you for that support. A couple of projects to highlight are Yachio, Trident, several expansions by Southwire, and then numerous other expansions of local businesses as they continue to grow and prosper here, because we, quite frankly, have a great environment for business, as well as a very good workforce, both locally and regionally, for everyone to tap into. But because of that success, our inventory for sites, specifically for traditional manufacturing projects, is very, very low. As a matter of fact, we have very little property that's aligned with those target industries. Now, why I'm here today is because getting that property requires a partnership. It requires our organization to be out there marketing, but it also requires the development authority and the boards, whether that's a municipal board or a county board, to work together to provide that opportunity for economic development purposes, specifically to bring those jobs and that investment into the area. Now, we've been really lucky with a lot of existing business expansion, but as we've seen, we've kind of run out of even places for them to grow on their footprints as well. So the other thing that's a little different now than maybe it has been in the past is that having a feasible site requires quite a bit of effort. To attract those types of projects, they usually need to be held by an authority, and they also need to be entitled properly. And we've gone through a couple of realignments with that recently, and we're hoping to bear the fruits of that before too long. But again, some of those sites are geared towards other types of projects, not your traditional, more heavy manufacturing type projects. And it's not that they're egregious or anything, it's just that they require a certain type of protection for that investment. And if you'll go to your packet, you'll see a couple of things in there, and I'll recap that really quickly. I did print the Q Public website just to show you the site that we're looking at. And it's on East Luke Drive across from several of the businesses that are in the current Temple Industrial Park. You can use that map for orientation. This is at Interstate 20 and Exit 19. But I wanted to highlight this little matrix, if you will, that's on the first page. It's on a landscape. And it's titled, "What Makes a Good Site for Industrial Development?" And on here you see a list of criteria down the left-hand side. And then you see their ranking. And this ranking was provided by Area Development Magazine, which is an industry magazine, usually site selection decision makers, whether that's consultants, which is about 50% of the folks that head up these projects, or whether that's CFOs, CEOs, real estate professionals throughout the various private and public industries. And what you'll see at number one is availability of skilled labor. And you can see how that one's kind of dropped in and out of the top 5 over the last 7 or 8 years here that we have listed. But the second one you see is highway accessibility, and you can see that's number 1 or 2 on the list every year, very consistent. Well, why is that? Well, because of the logistics, trucks mostly. We're in that spot where we're not quite far enough away from the ports to be just a very attractive rail location. And because we're close to several major markets throughout the Southeast, a lot of folks just do all their business by truck. So that's one reason why I think we've been very successful in the Temple Park. And if you'll flip to the next page, you'll see on the top, just again, a location map, but then on the bottom part of that page, you'll see some text written on a map. And you'll see Royal Metals, Janus, and DecoStar are three of the largest businesses that are located in this industrial park. And then we, of course, have a few that are along the frontage of Highway 113, ones that may want a little bit more of a retail-type presence, a little more visibility. And in the back, we have the Temple Grad site, and that's one that's a little more prepared than others. And then we have this 27-acre site, the tract that we're looking at across the street from DecoStar, Janus, and Royal Metal. We estimate we have about 300 jobs here and somewhere in the range of between $50 and $70 million worth of investment. More to come, we hope. So what we're asking for is continued partnership with you all, your support as we pursue these sites. We know that there are opportunities for economic development dollars to be put into projects like this to help us secure things. One thing that's very attractive to us about this piece of property is the fact that we don't have to extend a lot of infrastructure to it, which is great because we're not adding future liability in the forms of roads and other things that would need to be maintained. And we have a lot of utility infrastructure in place with the City of Temple nearby, as well as the Carroll County Water Authority. If you all have any questions for me, I'd love to answer those and maybe make sure everybody understands why we're looking so heavily in this area.
Okay, so Andy, the Temple Grad site is already owned by this development, by the authority?
The Carroll County Development Authority owns the Temple site, yes.
Okay, but the 27.3 is not owned yet?
Not yet. It is under contract with the authority. We're also taking some time to put some concepts together as well. We find that that's a very meaningful way to market the property, help people kind of imagine what it could be as opposed to the way it currently sits today.
Do you have a tire kicker in?
Yes, always. But as we mentioned before, we do need to hold and have the correct entitlement and concepts together as well as that infrastructure in place. Rarely are they willing to wait for us to pull things together for them because, quite honestly, the competition is very steep. There are a lot of communities that will put this together, and we also happen to have to pass on several things because we don't quite have what they're looking for. And we want to try to help them locate here, especially if it's something that we're very interested in having.
And Andy, I take it for granted because I get to work with y'all daily, and a lot of the board don't. They'll ask questions, or I fail sometimes to present because so many things going on. But just update them inventory, kind of how we are overall, and where we need to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have certain products that we can, certain types of projects that we can attract in and place in areas that we do have entitled correctly. And then we have areas that are better aligned with that target industry, like the Temple interchange, where we just don't have the product secured. Typically, a 25 to 50 acre site is pretty much the minimum for most of our, what I call traditional, we really call them advanced manufacturing projects now because there's so much technology involved in them nowadays. It's not, the production isn't quite as laborious as the labor used to be. Industrial maintenance, machine lines, the products that they make in there are often party to a further process like automotive parts or things like that. But they always are looking for a place where they can come and land and be successful for many decades. And what they're hopeful is they'll continue to grow. Well, we've got a very good track record of their growth here. Companies like DecoStar, Janus in this particular part of the county, others in other places. Obviously, Southwire is a great story in what they've done over their many decade history. Many of them are privately held. We've been very attractive, and I think a lot of that's because of our workforce that's very strong, very numerous, and very educated. And we're also very aligned with trying to provide them with more and more of those people. So, but we don't want sites to be the holdup, because we look very good in all the other aspects, but we're really down to having very little. And honestly, this Temple site, the one that we're considering now, and the one that we currently have, are really about the two best that we have that are under control by an authority.
So exactly what are you asking for, Andy? What, I may have missed that, I apologize. I was reading as we were doing. Yeah, so what are you're asking to purchase this?
We do have it currently under contract, and we would like to have some support for
Okay.
the purchase of it, yes, sir. And the timeline, to answer your question? Yes, we're currently applying for annexation and zoning into the city of Temple, which will provide us with the utilities and the entitlement we need to locate the business. And then we've also talked about available funds that could help us secure the property.
When will we know, I'm not asking for now, but what portion that you're looking for from the board?
We could know that at your next meeting,
Okay.
Who currently owns it?
the Johnson family.
Now, are you going to be looking for us to know that and take action at the next meeting, or will we know it prior to the next meeting with the intent of I'm just trying to think,
Yes, sir.
because I know we have economic development funds, and I know that the time moves quickly. And I'm thinking for me, I can be more helpful from representing my district if I know when, what, and the timeline. That way I have a chance to process it. So,
We're hopeful that we will have the property annexed and zoned for industrial development in the city of Temple
Okay.
by the middle of November.
okay,
If we had a contingent approval from this board to support the purchase of that with those entitlements in place, then we could go ahead and move forward with the closing before the end of November.
okay. So y'all looking at 100% from us and some from Temple, or y'all haven't decided on that yet?
For the property,
For the
yes.
property.
The authority, though, is spending the dollars to provide the studies and the concepts and the marketing of it.
Okay, so I'm not sure I'm understanding this correctly. So Temple will annex it into the city.
Yes.
The authority will pay for the ancillary fees, and you're looking for us to do paying for it out of our economic SPOS.
For the, yes, for
For the
the
property.
property itself, for the asset, yes.
Okay.
And we currently have it under contract at $20,000 an acre for 27 acres, 27.3 acres. We do have an appraisal of it, and this is in line with that cost, very close.
Actually, Trent, they're asking for two things, because to annex into the city of Carrollton, we have to sign off, the chairman does,
For Temple.
to let Temple, if Temple wants it, we do have to.
True. Good point.
I'm just,
No,
And-
I know, I just,
No, good point, yes.
That process is underway, so if it hasn't officially, the request hasn't, either it hasn't officially arrived yet or it's en route, Pony Express.
Well, I appreciate y'all leading the effort on this.
Well, Andy, this has absolutely nothing to do with you, because what I'm going to talk about happened long before you got here. But the last time that your group was here before us, Mr. Jackson knows all about it, because it was Daniel that was before us, meeting after meeting. The last time they asked for a joint, operation between you guys, it was for $6 million. What was the tech part? What was the total on it? $4 million debacle. And that has no bearing on you, but I tell you, I still got a bad taste in my mouth every time I ride up and down the bypass, Daniel, and it's still there. And we had people from Carroll tomorrow, people from the Development Authority that came to us meeting after meeting after meeting and said, this is what we need. This is what we have to have. Some of y'all were here, you remember. This is where the market is. So I can tell you, it's not a distrust for you, but I do have a distrust about moving forward with this. So,
and you said 20,000 an acre,
Yes.
and there's 32.33 acres?
Actually, it's
27.3.
27.3.
It's about 400.
Yeah.
I'm doing that
The
now,
legal
huh?
description online actually included a 5-acre tract that was at the corner, but it's been surveyed and has the correct acreage. And all of the infrastructure is in place at or very close to
Yeah.
the property.
It's important that we continue to grow our economy. I like that we have the possibility of soliciting new jobs. I like that we have the possibility to partner with Temple and the Development Authority. All I ask of, we've got to continue trying to recruit jobs. Just that, and I know you will, the more timely we know how serious they are and sort of make it succinct when we get ready to approve ours and making sure that the numbers add up and whoever's doing the appraisal, y'all didn't do this, but we had something coming for us last time, and the appraisal, they made the appraisal match the asking price, and that's hard for us to defend. If you have a radius that you're supposed to stick within, don't go to Douglasville or Atlanta to inflate the appraisal. So just know that, and y'all didn't do this, but someone else did. So I'm excited about the prospect. Just keep us apprised so that it won't be a last minute deal where we're having to agree to spend for. So thank you for what you're doing.
Yes, sir. And that's why we wanted to come to you today. Make sure everybody was aware of where we were headed with some things and ask for your support in it.
Any other questions? Andy, as always, thank you for the time of keeping us updated.
We appreciate your time too, and thank y'all for everything you do to help us out and help out everyone in Carroll County. We appreciate you.
Thank you. We'll roll over to the agenda for the November 1st, 2016 meeting. We'll start item number 8. 8.1 will be the financial recap by Don Johnson for September 2016. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll go to item 8.2, fire rescue turnout gear. We'll call on Chief Scott Blue.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. If you'll recall, back earlier this year, we were awarded an assistance to firefighter grant in the amount of $290,400 with a 10% match. That would be $264,000 from the federal government and $26,400 local match. The board approved to accept that grant. The board approved to accept that grant at that time, and now we have done an extensive evaluation using a committee of several of our firefighters using different equipment and different turnout gear, and they made a recommendation, and we've gotten quotes, and you should have that in your packet. With that, we're making a recommendation to purchase the turnout coat and pants from Bennett Fire Products at a cost of $1,543 per set for a total of $186,703. We're making a recommendation to purchase the boots from Municipal Equipment, the amount of $299 per pair of boots, total price $36,179. We're making a recommendation to purchase the helmets from Fireline in the amount of $204 per helmet for a total of $24,684. We're making a recommendation to purchase the gloves from 10-8 at $67 per pair of gloves. That'll be a total of $8,107. Making a recommendation to purchase the hoods from Bennett Fire at a price of $34 for a total of $4,114, and we're making a recommendation to purchase the belts for the turnout gear from Rescue Tech at a price of $150 per belt for a total of $18,150. This brings the total amount to $277,937. This actually leaves us with an excess funds in the federal grant of $12,463 once the initial obligations of the grant are fulfilled, which would be purchasing this. then I will request an amendment to see if we can use that money for any other purpose.
Chief, can you do one thing for me?
Yes, sir.
And I don't know the answer to it, but I know every now and then you hear some outlandish comment on television, or sometimes even at our meetings. No pun intended, Kevin. Where someone will make an irate statement that says, why would you pay $67 for a pair of gloves? Now, I have an idea as to why safety is important, and I have an idea that we're not talking about isotonal gloves. But just humor me so that there won't be this myth that we're paying $67 for working gloves or iso. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir, it does, it completely,
How much are they, 67?
$67 per set. That's
I pay
actually,
more for, I pay more to hunt out of in gloves. I
but
can
the
tell you that.
gloves, for firefighting have to meet a certain standard. It's, the National Fire Protection Association has a standard for all equipment they have to meet. Those gloves are not your typical work gloves. They're actually 3 layers of the gloves. There's the outer shell, which is your thermal layer. Then there is the inner layer, which is a moisture level, and then another thermal layer as well.
That's what I figured.
So, yeah, it's not your
That's what I
off-the-shelf gloves by
Now,
no means.
that's what I
You
figured.
can't go get them at Harbor Freight.
So this isn't costing us a nickel. This is all grant money, correct?
All grant money except for the 10% match.
You have to do the match.
10% match. That's great.
Any other questions? Seeing not, Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Item 8.3, we'll call on Gerald Pilgrim, consideration to purchase 2 15-passenger vans and 1 15-passenger for facility grounds maintenance.
Commissioners, this is the, I think the chairman sent y'all a memo about some internal moves from Public Works that will go to Parks, reassignment of correctional officers. These would be the vehicles that would be assigned to those 3 correctional officers. One, I think Mr. Skipper's here, would be 2 that are in Parks, and then 1 that will do all the facilities or assist with all the facilities on the maintenance crew, grounds maintenance crew. There is a $224 difference per vehicle between Hardy Chevrolet and Don Rich, which is a total of $672 for the whole package. But the Don Rich package is 1 to 2 months sooner. So, we would recommend going with getting, if we can get them in sooner, would be better. So we had a little delay last time, so.
He's local. And we ought to go with
And there's a reason, and I think a good reason with having that 2 months delivery time is good. Any questions on this? Thank you.
Seeing none, thank you, Gerald. Next item on the agenda is item 8.4. Consideration of City of Roopville's request. We'll call on Commissioner Kevin Jackson.
This is something I've been working with the city of Roopville all year long. To those of you that's been to the Roopville Festival down there, they've got a small stage. It's probably 20 years old, I would say. It was donated by the community and built by the community, but it's in bad shape. We noticed this year, I'm the lucky guy that gets to climb on the roof every year and hang the banner, and I notice it swaying when I'm up there. This year when they were clogging and a lot of people on it moving around, we noticed it swaying around. So just like we've done in the past with the city of Roopville, and other cities throughout the county, we provided the infrastructure, and then they maintain whatever it is. They provide the property and the maintenance on the whatever it is for the lifetime of the maintenance. So this is just the same. They're going to change it up a little bit, make it more friendly for churches and whatnot, family reunions and such as that. That one's not. They're going to raise it up and change it just a little. But its biggest use will be for the festival, and then hopefully they're going to get out in the community and get a little more involvement out of it as far as churches around there. And so it's a relatively small request, but we'll provide the funding to build it, and they'll maintain the building for the life of the structure.
Any questions for Commissioner Jackson?
Where did the money come
I don't know if that'll be '08 or where's Don? It'll come from Splashed. Economic development.
From,
Out of your
come,
assignment.
yes. Any other questions for Commissioner Jackson? Seeing none, thank you, Kevin. Next, we've been moving into item number 9, business session 9.1. We'll call on Ms. Stacy Blackman for intergovernmental agreement, ESCO Way.
Good afternoon. This is an intergovernmental agreement on the ESCO Way property that was purchased in 2013 with funds provided equally between the city and the county provided cash and some in-kind services. The title to the property was placed in the city's name, so this is a document to just provide that if there's ever a sale or lease of the property, the proceeds are split equally between the city and the county or their designees if you wanted it to go to your development authority. So just cleaning up the title for us. Do you have any questions?
That's behind Barnes back in.
Thank you for doing that.
Okay. That's
Can we
right, you
move on-
mentioned it at
Can
the
we move on that tonight?
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, yeah, I'm sorry. Any other questions? Seeing none for Stacy. Item 9.2, special tax district. We're gonna call on Artegas Newell, zoning administrator.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You all have a request for a special tax district before you for your consideration. This is for Turkey Creek Point subdivision, which is just south of the city of Bremen. Turkey Creek Point was zoned around 2005, 2006, and was one of the developments that was caught up in the recession, and Mark Clayton has purchased that development and is restarting that development. As part of the approval for the final plat, a street light tax district would need to be approved by the board in order for the street lights to be, for the utility bill to be paid, in this case to Carroll EMC. Mr. Clayton has submitted to Carroll EMC the required 2-year deposit in the amount of, I believe, $2,600. There are 49 lots in the subdivision and I believe 16 street lights that would be implemented into the subdivision. And what we are requesting is the board's approval to establish that tax district specifically for those lots in that subdivision. The owners would be charged on their tax assessment annually $40, which goes to a fund specifically to pay the utility bill for this development only. I've had conversations with Mr. Johnson and with Mrs. Bearden and Mrs. Palmer in order to have the account set up with the county for Mrs. Palmer and her ladies to be able to have that assessment on the notices and for Mrs. Bearden's collection. And so we would be respectfully requesting the board's approval to establish that tax district.
Artegas, I just have one question.
Yes, sir.
I love the idea because we did one out in George Chambers District.
Yes, sir.
Wasn't his district at the time, but it was somebody's nice. I don't know the person's name. But it was off of Hog Level Road.
That's right.
And I know that some people think their company is the best. But what happens, how do we inform those who are agreeing to it when their light goes out, who to call? Because I probably get more calls on who replaces the light than getting the road paved.
They can call us. Yeah.
Say what?
Yes, sir. They can.
So they do call y'all?
Yes, sir. We have
Okay.
a very nice citizen, probably about 6 or 7 months ago, who is in, I believe, Bethany Forest off Dock Hyde Road, and they had a couple issues with some of the street lights that were
I didn't know that.
not operational in various states of disrepair, and some had been, some vandalized. And so we were able to get in contact with Mr. Kendrick at Carroll EMC, and Stanley was able to get everything squared away, and she was very appreciative.
I'm good. I didn't
We
know
just
that.
give them Kevin's number.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So we have several other neighborhoods that do this already?
Yes,
We
Because
do.
we have lots of neighborhoods who collect funds on their own.
and pay us.
So we could go ahead and change over, is what I'm saying. We've already done one,
Yes,
Done
ma'am.
multiple.
we've done.
Yeah, over the years.
It's actually nice for safety, for the sheriff, for
Well,
everybody.
no, I'm just thinking, I know several neighborhoods in my district that collect POA funds and do it themselves, and I'm thinking it sure be a lot nicer not having to dog people for their money.
Right.
So if we turn it over to Vicky and Community Development,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just throwing it out there, folks,
Yes, ma'am.
'cause
That certainly is a possibility, Mrs. Morgan. In the developments that are already established with residents currently living there, I believe there is a 75% requirement for the property owners to go into the tax district. Currently, since Mr. Clayton is the sole owner, he is 100%. But we have had, I believe Laurel Lakes was one, and that's the one that comes to mind right now that we had, I think everyone in the neighborhood signed for it, that I remember. And we probably will be back before the board in the coming months with some other requests. We have currently between 4 and half a dozen developments that are in various states of restarting. And as part of the final plat, I or Mr. Skipper or maybe Mr. Kent, when he's back from deployment, will be back to request similar tax districts in order for us to be able to approve the final plat.
I love it.
Any other questions for our take us? Seeing none. That is all. I
Thank
will
you.
ask, Stacy, we typically don't go into zoning sessions, but did you want to discuss item 10.1 and 10.2 under that? Is that something? Okay. While we're here, yes.
We have a text amendment, and I think you'll have the resolution. We've had Mr. Paux's request to rezone his 158 acres on Martin Cemetery Road for a sports shooting range and also a conference center. And these are not specifically listed uses in the zoning ordinance, so there's a process in the ordinance to go by. The Planning Commission recommended that these be listed, these sports shooting be listed as a conditional use under agricultural, the property zoned agricultural now, and also that the conference center be listed as a conditional use under commercial. So those are those two different text amendments I think that you have on your agenda. And then, so those will be two separate items, and then his applications would be separate as well. Do you have any questions? Okay.
Anything from the board?
Can we list, or is some of this okay for a consent agenda?
The boards?
Anything on the consent, I'm good with.
Huh?
I'm all in favor of consent.
Just go through and spell them out with each one, everybody's
What about
here.
the turnout gear, 8.2?
I'm good with that.
Vehicle request, 2 vans, 8.3.
I'm good with that.
Rootable Pavilion, 8.4.
I'm good with that.
What is that? Estevano Way, Esco Way.
Yes,
I'm good with that. That should be at the top.
Special tax district we just discussed.
Good with that. And you can even put 400,000
You
there.
want me
for
to go
10
over that again, Susan?
Are you good with the rootable thing, Trent?
I'm good with it. Yeah, I'm good with it.
I did all that just to get rootable in there. It sounded like, Susan, we had 8.2, turnout gear, 8.3, vehicle requests, 8.4, rootable pavilion, Esco Way agreement,
it was everything.
and the special tax.
It is.
The minutes and finance, you can put on
Because
there,
I
too.
think we're gonna have, I think we'll have a very long zoning session.
Now I know why he brought the buckets.
Huh? He wanted some. Anything else from the board?
I said, you can put that 400,000 on there too, I'm okay with it.
I am too.
I don't want that to be a consent item.
No, not
I'm
right
messing
now.
with
Are we adding that to the agenda?
Is that coming in November or December?
And at this point, I'm not guaranteed when. Did not say it. I feel like it may if they, yeah, it could, but yeah, it wouldn't be under consent anyway. We may need just to add it to the agenda.
I think that's the reason I was asking the timeline was because if there's an intent for us to approve to spend $500,000 on next week, then I think just, out of respect, a packet, a copy of the proposal, what we're looking at, a copy of the appraisal, and, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Jackson,
Please don't.
because I couldn't. But it doesn't have anything to do with them. There's just a due diligence that and I can't speak for the rest, would like to go through, because I like the idea, and I'm in favor of working with Temple to do it. I just want to be able to speak to what I'm agreeing to spend $500,000 for. And today we had a rooftop overlay, and I know that the chairman has more, I know that they have more, but in order to get $500,000, I think that, I can't speak for y'all, I need more.
Stacy, point of clarification, in the event they were under a rush, could the development authority purchase and us reimburse the development authority if time became of an essence?
I think for economic development.
Yeah, okay, so if it came down, that'd still give us a chance to review it and not put us under a rush.
Here's the problem, though. If they have the fiscal capabilities to purchase it from the resources and the property we've given them, and they really don't need any money right now. It's about like what we did with the health department. We chose to not fund the health department because we realized they had a heavy surplus.
I did meet with them. They've got 3 projects, and they would, if all 3 projects come through, which it looks like they are, they would need the money.
Right.
Yeah. This one right here, if it was a single project they were doing, they probably wouldn't, but
Gotcha.
to do them all, they'd be out. So that's the reason I was asking.
I'd like to have a copy of their budget.
Sure,
And
absolutely.
if you could get your hands on that,
Yes.
that'd give you a little bit of an idea.
But I'm in favor of helping them.
Okay, anything else?
So did we assume we don't have enough information at this point to put that on the agenda, correct? Okay.
So it's not gonna come back to us in an email in the next few days and say, by the way, here's their stuff. I mean, I know business is of the essence, but I'm kind of with you. I need to go back and look, $500,000's gotta come from somewhere else in that list of 19 things. So I've gotta come to terms, if I'm going to raise my hand for this, what something else is gonna take away from. So, am I gonna have to make a decision if an email
It
comes
looks to
Thursday or
me,
Friday, or are we talking
we
about
controlling
December?
the money, we kind of set the deadlines and guidelines. So I'm willing to work that and tell them.
We
So,
also have
yeah.
a line item for that, don't
We do,
we, for community
So-
development,
Well,
that
it's
it would
spent.
come out
yeah.
of.
It's spent, Tommy.
But anyway, we'll make sure that timeline works and we'll coordinate that with them as well. Don't have a problem doing that.
And we don't want to slow it, I mean,
Sure, we don't miss opportunities.
I don't
but-
wanna-
No,
Yeah.
let me clarify, I wanna help, but I also
Sure.
wanna know what I'm going to give up. Does that make sense? And I don't wanna have a rush decision. So I'm okay with December, but next week
Okay.
is a little much.
I'm for that. Anything else from the board? Seeing none?